Hello, hello. Yeah, all good. All right. Lance, you want to start off?
All right. I'm Lance Farquhar from Nishtech, and I lead their commerce practice there, Nishtech. And Nishtech is a boutique SI, and we deliver commerce solutions for our customers.
Cool.
Mark?
Hi, everyone. Mark Joseph. I am the head of sales at Nishtech. I've been working with the team for the past year. I was actually thinking about my introduction, and surprisingly, I'm coming on almost 30 years in the commerce space. Thinking about some of the platforms that existed during the day. Some of you won't know what I'm talking about, but started working with platforms way back when, like Blue Martini. Some of you probably remember Blue Martini, the Ash does. Broadvision, another technology that came out in the mid-90s that no longer exists, ATG being another one of them. But I've been working with services companies, so e-commerce agencies, and building them up. Had a great stretch with a company called Acuity Group that I helped grow before our acquisition by Accenture. Lots of years. I'm now in the platform space with e-commerce providers, PIM providers. So certainly delighted to be here and talking about some of the some of the experiences we've seen as people have gone through B2B Re-platforms, and share some of those lessons with you today. Cool. So quick agenda slide. You guys can read on your own. We'll move to the next screen. So, okay. Here are the major traps we've seen over the years with customers, and we'll share each one of these in more detail for you. Certainly can't expect your customers to change their behavior. And we'll talk about what a B2B buying journey looks like. You also want to make sure that you have a really compelling business case. I'm sure leadership and their prioritization of these initiatives will want to make sure that there's a solid business case, and we'll talk about some of the dimensions you can consider when building a strong business case. Don't underestimate the complexity of B2B. I love when people talk about you need to drive a B2C-like experience, and that certainly makes sense because us as consumers, we're on Amazon. It's super easy, endless aisle, 2-day delivery. But don't confuse B2C and B2B when it comes to the complexity. Complex org structures, contract pricing. There's configurable products. Everything about B2B is complex. And really, it's really important that you select SIs and partners to really understand the space. All right. So, the promises of B2B are really centered around 3 primary drivers: growth of the channel, so transactions, efficiency, so more self-service capabilities. And it was great to see the last presentation talking about the portal. And then obviously improving customer experience for your end customers. Those are the 3 primary drivers, and we'll dig into those a little bit more. All right. So the first being the business case. So it's really, really important that you set the right expectations with leadership. Growth, certainly from the channel, especially with the baby boomers kind of retiring and the millennials continuing to grow within these organizations. The expectation is that more and more people will go online to buy. So there's certainly top line, but equally as important, I think it's really, really critical that you consider channel shift as part of your key strategy as well, and building that into your business case. So that is allowing customers access to a portal to check order status. So anything you can do to get call deflection from calls coming to your inbound reps or your customer service teams, and drive to more self-service activities, looking up invoices, making payments, that is equally as important as your business case in terms of top line growth plus the efficiencies you can drive. Anything to add there?
Yeah, I think that as you're using that business case, right, making sure that you outlined what you want to measure. What is this project really about? Is it about growing that revenue? Is it about certain metrics that go along with that? Mm-hmm. And outlining that right in what is going to be delivered as part of ultimately that solution, right? This is our goal. This is what we're trying to strive for.
Yeah. And one of the interesting things I've seen over the years too is a lot of the products that you may sell as a manufacturer distributor are complex products, and you may never ever really create an experience to drive that type of online purchase. But it's the replenishment products, the consumables. So the print cartridges are the most expensive thing over time rather than the printer, right? And so the margins on consumables and replenishment products are significantly higher than the actual product itself. And so a lot of companies start there with consumables or replenishment products. Yep, let's keep going. And change management, you can't underscore the importance of making sure the entire organization is prepared and ready to change the way they do things. So, whether it's improving processes, streamlining processes, making sure all the teams are on board. And one of the things that's not mentioned here is kind of understood is having the right executive sponsorship is critically important as well. So having that leader stand up saying, we're going to undertake this initiative, having that leader stand up to make sure that sales is aligned and making sure, the solution's adopted to the extent it can be, making sure the organization is prepared to really support this channel as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, oftentimes it's helping the people, right, as much as delivering a new platform.
Yep. Yeah. And it's super important to know your customer. So most buyers, most of a medium-sized company and larger, they're required to go into their ERP system and enter in all the information they want to buy from you. And when that is authorized, they get a purchase order. So keep in mind, one of the biggest challenges customers face is that they think because they stand up an e-commerce site that customers are just going to naturally go there and place orders. You really need to segment your customers and understand their buying behavior, their buying process. In the example I just mentioned, the last thing they're going to do is print out the PO and then go to the e-commerce site and type it in again, because they've already did that once. Their expectation is that you, as the supplier, are going to have people that are going to enter in the information in your own systems in order to complete the transaction. So understanding the buyer, understanding their journey, a lot of independent contractors, they love going on to a website and placing an order. They've historically called reps or called customer service. Other customers, like I said, they have to go through a process within their own internal ERP system to get an authorization to buy from you. They're going to get an email. You're going to get an email with that purchase order because the ERP systems make it super easy for them to just email the PO from the ERP system. And again, they don't want to duplicate their behavior again. Some of your other largest customers will want to engage with you in EDI, machine to machine. It's a complex integration. It takes time, but it makes sense for high volume customers. So really understanding the customers, the segmentation, their buying behavior, and then building solutions, including commerce solutions, to be able to support them across their journey is critically important.
Yeah, so I think that if you're one of the prospects in the audience that's looking at Znode, it's really important not to underestimate any type of B2B project, right? Re-platforming. And this is what we also hear from the customers that work with Nishtech. And like you were saying earlier, Mark, you were talking about the comparison of B2C and B2B. And there are a lot of great things about that B2C, and there's a lot of things that we heard from other folks that you want to take away, right, that B2B experience, because everybody has that experience, right? We've all shopped on different sites, right? Some of them, like Amazon is a great example, right? They first got the patent there on, just go ahead and buy it, right? Buy now, right? And so they had that patent for I think 10 years, and that just made that experience so easy, right? And then everybody's like, oh, we've got to make our experience easy too, right? But the reality of it is a B2B project is far more complex. Oftentimes they have far more systems in play just to present the data on the screen, right? They're calling multiple more systems just to say, hey, here's a product, right? And there are many reasons for that, right? Because B2B is all about those contracts with that particular company, right? And those contracts are all about those customer orgs, right? And in turn, they get a different catalog, right? Or they get a subset. They could get different pricing, right? And that all kind of drives that ultimately that experience and that complexity. So understanding that right off the gate, means that B2B is far more complex than the B2C. And so you can't treat it the same, right? You have to do your due diligence. Those architects that are on that team, they have to vet out all those things that are unknowns, right? And they have to go searching for the unknowns, right? They already know, hey, I need to ask this question about your catalog. And then, okay, well, how about reviewing the data too, right? Do you have some type of automated system that looks at the data? Because even the customer may not know the depth of the pricing, right? And they have to validate that. They have to go in and try to figure out, what am I missing, right? And so a B2B project is far more complex than just a B2C project. And that it's really important to understand. Then you have all the integrations, right? You've got your Ps, your PIMs, CQs, you've got real-time pricing, real-time inventory, right? And it just kind of goes on and on and on because these systems are very complex, right? The B2B companies are taking orders beyond just digitally, right? They're taking it through fax and the sales rep calls up, or the customer calls up their favorite sales rep, hey, I need blah, 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 right? I need it tomorrow, right? And they've got to put it in their system. A lot of times they're just putting it into the ERP directly, and that's very clunky, right? And so these systems and integrating with them becomes very important. And, obviously when it's a website, when you're talking about that experience, right, everybody has shopped on different websites and they want it all fast. Otherwise, the customer's not showing up, right? Yeah, those integrations can make it slower, right? And so you've got to solve for that. And so it becomes far more complex. And treating it like it's not, and not giving the time to be able to do that due diligence, I think, is a real mistake. The next trap that I want to talk about is, I personally love tech. I started engineering. I'm still basically in the software development role. Sometimes they let me. And, I love to solve problems, and sometimes that's in code. So, I've probably created a lot of technical debt in my career. But, it becomes a real problem, right? And, what I learned early on in my software career was that if you're buying software from a vendor, right, they should, you should be able to bring your business model and they have to adopt to that, right? They have to be able to have their software to be extendable, right? Because you're not going to change your business model. And any vendor that wants you to change their business model for their technology is just wrong. You're not going to buy it, right? And so Znode is great because you can customize it, right? But as an engineer, I love solving for problems that don't even exist, right? And so this is where you can start getting into technical debt. You can start locking yourself in with over-customization, right? This is where you can also drive those upgrades into being too expensive, right? Oftentimes, you want to look for those opportunities where you can let the platform do what it does best, right? And lower that technical debt, lower that customization, so that when an upgrade comes around, the vendor's already solved it for you, right? Just like it was told to us earlier with 10. They provided an upgrade and or a feature, and it just went smoothly. And that's what you really want. You want to try to stay away from over customization and not taking advantage of what the vendor has to offer. And one of the last ones that I want to talk about is ignoring data and process automation. I think sometimes, if we fall into some of these other traps, all of a sudden the project's gone longer. Maybe the project is threatened to not deliver on time, or it's starting to come over budget, right? And so there's a lot of pressure that's mounting. And this one is easy to fall into, right? It's easy to fall into, or that complexity, to fall into missing out on some of those opportunities that a new platform is going to give you. It could be that thinking about the order to cash life cycle, right? Did I miss out on the fact that, hey, there's some type of support in the platform where I can help out with making sure that if I can present the data in a certain way, right, for these products, that less customers are actually going to do returns, right? And that's actually going to be a huge win, right? That's going to be a huge cost savings, right? And so looking for these types of automation, these types of opportunities that you can get out of replatforming with Znode, right? It's really important to, again, do due diligence. Take this time to understand what's there and grab those opportunities. Make it part of phase 2 if you like. But get it on the roadmap, right? Especially when it aligns back to what we were talking about with your KPIs, right? Not letting that go, because that's what's going to be successful, looking for those wins, right? And I thought that it was great that I think it was the Athens that talked about when they went through testing, they made sure that their largest customers, revenue-generating customers for them, that they tested those on their account, on their system before they really went live, right? Wholeheartedly agree with that, right? But meeting the customer, right, where how they order, right? Maybe they send in a fax, maybe they're really old school, right? Or again, they call their salesperson, right? Looking at those manual ways of doing it, and then figuring out, how do I actually support that customer, right? Maybe I look through all their data and I see that they keep ordering the same thing, and I know that they keep ordering it on the last day of the month, so I'm going to send them a nice little email or a text or something that's a link that automatically has like a punch-out page, and they just hit it, right? Or something like that, right? Coming up with ways to try to help them get into the system and adopt it so they no longer have to do those manual processes, right? And sometimes it's that out-of-the-box thinking. It's about looking at how much time are those manual processes taking, and can we automate them into this new system that we're doing with Znode, right? I think that's really important.
Yeah, what I'd also add is, if you look across all manufacturers and distributors and looking at the channels in which orders come in, about 10% is EDI, about 20% is commerce, and about 70% is manual. Manual for the reasons I mentioned before, because they need to go in their ERP to issue the purchase order, and they're not going to do it twice. So you need to figure out ways, and there's technology that we implement that allows us to extract the data from a purchase order with 100% accuracy, transform the data, and deliver it to generally the ERP, could be Znode or any other channel, without a human ever touching it. So the technology's evolved beyond OCR and scanning software, which everyone's had a miserable experience with. Could you imagine a world where a customer emails you a purchase order, and within 60 seconds they get a link to their order, and they hit the link and they go to Znode and check out their order status? So find ways to automate all your orders and serve customers in the way in which they want to buy from you. All right. So just to wrap it up, we talked about the importance of establishing a business case. We talked clearly about understanding the customer buying behavior and making sure you're supporting them and across all their channels. Make sure you're prioritizing the integrations and the complexities that come with B2B. Certainly, we always believe that taking a crawl, walk, run approach is the best approach to, as opposed to boiling the ocean, to getting some success in the launch, showing some results, and then iterating from there. Just don't focus on just the launch, but certainly the adoption of the solution and making sure you're getting your customers, the ones in which want to buy from you online, engaged with you, and also aligning with the right partners. And sitting in this room, I think you have plenty of great options in terms of the ecosystem that can successfully deploy Znode solution.
I think getting all your partners together all at once too.
Yep.
I've seen that many times in large implementations, not just B2B or commerce, but like getting all your partners together and saying, hey, this is our goal, right? Mr. CRM vendor, Mr. Znode, and maybe you've got some other things like your ERP. Getting them all together and saying, this is what we're doing, right? I need your support and your teams to help us implement this in the right way. So I think it's really important to get that alignment.
Yep. All right, so just key takeaways. You guys, again, can read them. Avoid the traps, certainly. Have measurable ROI and metrics in mind, so KPIs in place that you guys are evaluating, sharing with leadership, and enjoy the journey. All right, well, thank you very much for your time. Any questions?